It ain't easy taking down the Man of Steel. Clark Kent's adversaries all have to bring a certain umph to their game if they want to stand a chance against the Invincible Man. But there's always been a few that have, well, fallen a bit short in the villainy category, leaving us readers with some ridiculous but memorably fun villains that, quite frankly, are pretty dumb. So today we're counting down the top 10 dumbest Superman villains. Let's jump right in. And at 10 is Bizarro. So Bizarro makes our list because of his sheer lack of creativity. Yes, the whole Bizarro world has now evolved into something a bit more interesting, but let's be honest here guys, he's basically a half-assed attempt at coming up with a foe that could actually take on Superman. Created in 1958, he's got all of the reverse versions of Clark's powers, including vacuum breath, which seems like it would cause a lot of indigestion, but I guess he's a Bizarro, so... And at number 9 is Terraman. So when you think of cowboy villains, I'm sure something more sinister and Red Dead Redemption-y comes to mind. Well, that wasn't the case with Superman's cowboy villain. Terraman was a cowboy with a thick accent that constantly tried to lasso Superman like he was wrangling a horse. And he's super environmentally friendly, but not in a cool, environmentally friendly Poison Ivy kind of way. And his goonies? Well, they're called the Terramen. Creative. And at 8 is Tentadora. This evil sorceress makes our list for her complete lack of effort in her villainy. She's definitely capable of much better, and even much more sinister, because, I mean, she's an evil sorceress. But nah, let's just settle for selling fake kryptonite. That seems like a good evil plan, right? But don't worry guys, because really her purpose was just to be a femme fatale who just wanted to make out with Superman all the time, so... And at 7 is Nuclear Man. From Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, here's a super lame villain that Clark has to put up with. So when Superman is all like, I gotta cleanse the world of nuclear arms, in the process of the cleanse, this douchebag shows up and starts screaming a whole lot and is voiced by Gene Hackman, even though Gene Hackman isn't the actor who plays him. Alright, cool. And we never really get a reason for why he's stirring up trouble and yelling and just throwing stuff. So he's just sort of a pointless villain who sometimes has like electrical static on his hands and has really long nails. I don't know. And at number 6 is Mr. Mxyzptlk. Well, that's a name I'll never really be able to pronounce correctly. Aside from having a difficult name to pronounce, this impish villain first appeared in 1944 and was created by Jerry Siegel. Sounds promising, right? But his ability? Well, he's real good at pranks. Sometimes he likes to switch Superman's voice with a donkey's. Charming. And at number 5 is the Prankster. What's with this whole prank motif in Superman? I get that he's no Bruce Wayne intellectually speaking, but come on, villains of Metropolis, is it really that fun to prank the guy? Actually, it's probably hilarious. Meet the Prankster, another joke-filled villain who at one point pushes Superman to the point of threatening to kill him if he doesn't stop with his shenanigans, which I guess is kind of funny. Despite initially just being a con man with tricks up his sleeve, the character was given a new origin story over time. He became the host of a children's show that got cancelled, so naturally he turns to a life of crime. So why is he dumb? Well, he's basically a ripoff of the Joker, using things like ultrasonic waves to make people burst out into hysteria and laughter. Yeah. And at number 4 is Microwave Man. Meet Louis Paget. He was a villain back in the 1930s who returns to Earth 40 years later. Feeling a little outdated, he's all like, what's cool and hip with the times? Ah, yeah! Microwaves! That's how I'll reinvent myself. Microwaves! Technology's so cool! He's basically just powered by microwave radiation and wears a ridiculous pair of yellow tights with an M on his head. And guess what? That rejuvenation he received from becoming Microwave Man? Yeah, radiation killed him. Lovely. Remember kids, don't play with microwaves. It can maybe kill you. And at 3 is Tempest. First off, nice vest buddy. Second, Tempest is a villain that was a creation of the Lois and Clark The New Adventures of Superman TV series. He's a time traveler who comes back from a utopian society that future Superman and future Lois made. So what's his endgame here? Well, he wants to prevent that utopian society from even happening, which would be kind of a cool nefarious motivation if he wasn't a complete idiot. He keeps trying to tell everyone that Clark is Superman, and everyone's just like, dude, just shut up and go away. He manages to not affect the timeline at all despite owning a time machine, and also it turns out he's just the reincarnation of a dude who fought Superman in a previous lifetime. Okay, sure, you do you buddy, you do you. So number 2 is Bloodsport. After Vietnam, there was a whole slew of characters inspired by the rough and tough anti-hero stereotype, and Bloodsport was a product of that. Initially appearing in Superman Volume 2 in 1987, he was an African-American character that had a mental breakdown and became obsessed with the Vietnam War after learning that his brother had replaced him in the fight, and that his brother had become a quadruple amputee. Rough. So yeah, that's actually some pretty good motivation to turn evil and start shooting up Superman with kryptonite bullets for Lex Luthor. But then, another villain with the same alias name shows up in The Adventures of Superman 506, and he just happens to be a racist and a white supremacist. And the worst part is that both Bloodsports end up having to fight each other in a boxing match. And the first ends up getting killed when the second brought in his helicopter to bring him more weaponry, which I guess is kinda cheating. But don't worry guys, because the second one is eventually burnt alive in his jail cell by his white supremacist buddies for showing weakness in the fight with the first Bloodsport. Yeah, I guess the lesson here is don't be a white supremacist. And finally at number 1 is Doomsday. Okay, so I know a lot of you guys might argue against this, but hear me out. So Doomsday in his first appearance looks a whole hell of a lot like a Grey Hulk, with spikes. And what does he do? Well, he's fueled by anger and rage and hate for Superman, so his best offense is just punching the crap out of Superman. Until he dies, but not really, because it just puts Superman in a coma and everyone's like, yay, death is no longer a thing in comic books, it's irrelevant, woo. Thanks DC. Anyway, his origin story is even better than the whole I killed Superman but not really thing. Basically, an evil scientist took a baby, threw it outside in harsh conditions, and then picked up all of its dead bits from its carcass, cloned that baby, and then did it all over again and again and again until he created Doomsday. He also immediately smushed a bird when he arrived on Earth, cause, you know, DC couldn't think of a less expositional way to show us that he was evil. Right on. There we have it, friends. Are there other Superman villains that we should have included on this list? Let me know your thoughts in those comments below, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. For now, I'm Kelly Pally, and you guys have been watching Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch you in the next one.